Hey everyone, it's Jeff Risdon with the Detroit Lions podcast and Lions Wire. Got a little bit of a mailbag coming at you today. So, without further ado, let's do it. All right. I am recording this on Thursday the 6th of March. So I've been home from the combine for a few days, and I asked our Patreon Slack channel for the Detroit Lions podcast for some questions. I'm finally getting around to doing this. I've been crazy busy with all kinds of things. And in fact, I'm going out the door as soon as I'm done recording this. So, and we'll be offline for most of the weekend. But got some great questions. I'm going to stick to most of them that are draft related and combine related, because that tends to be where this comes from, Ben. And then I do have some other questions here that are quite good that I'm going to answer in a written form, probably early next week, maybe a little bit before that. Hopefully, if I get a little bit chance to work over the weekend. But before anything else, learned today that Andy Isaac passed away. World of Isaac on X, formerly Twitter. Fantastic, passionate Lions fan, funny guy. Saturday is his creation. I got to meet him a couple times. Very much enjoyed my time with him, and he will be missed. So, rest in heaven, Andy. You made an impact on a lot of people. I hope you know that going away. Off that somber note, and it's always tough when somebody passes away way too young. And that's if you follow me on Blue Sky, which you should, it's Jeff Riz at Blue Sky. And I tend to post there more now, just because I don't get a lot of bots and weird ads for products that scare me. I posted on there earlier this week some things about the things that are going on around the world of me that have it's kind of been, I don't know, just say it's been a rough few months, and I'm happy to get into the draft and diving into it full form, and getting into the combine was a fantastic week. I spent all week down there. I missed the Brad and Dan press conferences due to some family issues. My wife and I were both traveling on this week, and we didn't realize that it was going to be the combine, and we couldn't get childcare for my daughter until Tuesday afternoon, which is where they spoke. So, made it down for the rest of the time. And I did actually wind up meeting a couple of new Lions coaches while I was in Indianapolis, and that was fun. And that was, those conversations will stay between me and them and the Hooters waitress. Yeah. By the way, I went to Hooters because we talked about this on the last live show that I did with Chris, and I bagged on Hooters. So get down there and, Tuesday evening, and a couple of my friends, one of whom has appeared on the show before, are like, we're going to Hooters tonight. I'm like, why not? One last time. And I gotta say, I have never been a fan of their food. And I really enjoyed the Daytona sauce and their spicy Asian sauce. I forget what they called it, but it was really good. The wings were very well done. The drinks were nice. It was a good experience. And having said all that, I wish I would have had that kind of an experience back in the day at Hooters. Maybe if more of us had that sort of experience, the chain would still be lasting. But, yeah, I'm a hypocrite, but I enjoyed it. It was a good night. I met a Lions coach there, so that was cool. Let's get to the questions, so I know y'all are waiting for that. First one. I had these in order, and I shuffled my pages. All right. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I do the whole Mike Myers talk amongst yourselves thing, but there we go. All right. Let's start. Okay. Out of all the draft this is from Jeff Merrill. Thanks, Jeff. Out of all the draft prospects that have the potential to be on the Lions draft board, which one's stock rose up the most in the eyes of the national media? The way I didn't really pre-screen the answers on these, so these kind of go off the top of my head. So I like to do that more than preparing for them because I think you get a more honest answer that way. And my honest answers, Derek Harmon thought was phenomenal, and especially in the, so most people look at the 40 and the vertical jump and the tests like that. defensive linemen, I love watching the hoop drill, which is where they have two giant hula hoops, and you have to pick up a towel from one, run around in the figure eight, drop it in the other, and do it twice. He did that better than any player I've ever seen. And I've been to a lot of combines, at least 14. I've been to the last 11 as credentialed media. So he was outstanding with his body lean and his balance and body control at the weight he was at. He's got some great film. I saw him play in person at Michigan. I thought he was the best player on the field on that day. He's somebody that I don't think a lot of people had settled on yet. This is a guy, he played at Michigan State, and he was okay, kind of underwhelming. Goes to Oregon, gets in better physical condition, and gets unleashed in a more defined role that better suited his skill set. And he can absolutely play next to Liam McNeil. He can play together with him. He can spell him. He can play the one if you need him to. I thought he did a fantastic job, and I think he is somebody that might not be there when the Lions pick now. And I think most mocks generally had him still available. I think Donovan Ezuraku from Boston College, a guy that Colton Pouncey from The Athletic savvily put as his first-round pick for the Lions before the Combine. I think there's going to be more people that are going to be looking at that and thinking, that can work. Speedy pass rusher. Now, he's smaller. He's 249 pounds, I believe. His arms aren't super long either, but they're long enough. But he's a different style of pass rusher on the outside than what the Lions have had with the crush the can guys. And I think that he's someone that more people are seeing now, because he had a pretty good Senior Bowl week, but it wasn't like, wow. And I think now more people are seeing the potential for him to be in that. I still think 28 is a little too high, and I don't think he'll be there at 60. So that's one of those limbo ones. And then I'll actually go with a guy that I don't particularly care for, and that's Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. He is the big-bodied, long pass rusher. Had a massive wingspan. I believe it was over 83 inches, which is just ridiculous. He tested better than I expected him to, quite frankly, but he is someone that he just plays without any twitch. And even in the drills where he looked pretty good, it's still not a lot of fast motor skills. He's a very solid football player. I think he's going to wind up being taken in the 30s to 40s, but I could see the Lions taking him because he absolutely fits their physical profile of what they wanted in Marcus Davenport. He's kind of that kind of a physical specimen. But man, I don't see it on film. I see Quentin Cockles, a guy who was, I believe, a second-round pick for the Jets, who just didn't have the twitch to do it, and that's who I see in Landon Jackson. But he certainly helped himself at the Combine. Is it enough to elevate him to the Lions there? I don't know. And I will give one more Arkansas guy, local guy for me, though, in West Michigan, Isaac TeSlaa, wide receiver, Arkansas, formerly of Hillsdale, from Hudsonville Unity Christian High School, which is about 15 miles right up there. My kids play in their athletic complex. I've known Isaac and his family. I've known his family for some time through sports. Isaac did a fantastic job at the Combine. He did a great job of showing off his body control, his ability to catch the ball away from his frame at 6'4". And I think he was 213 pounds. He certainly is athletically gifted. I have personally watched him play beach volleyball at Muskegon. He played against my daughter and her partner. Guy's got incredible burst out of the sand. He's got very soft hands. There's one of those things where, the cross sports thing, not everything directly translates. Obviously, being a great volleyball player doesn't make you a great football player, but the things that make you really good on the beach tend to be having good hands, good timing, hand-eye coordination, body control, and explosiveness. He has all those. So it was nice to see that in a non-football capacity. He really showed off. And by the way, it was great. There was about 25 guys, friends and family that were down from here in West Michigan down to Indianapolis, which isn't that bad of a drive. It's a little over 3 hours to get down there. And they made the trip down and were cheering very loudly every time he did it. They were sitting, the media was sitting in section 135 and 136 in Lucas Oil Field on Saturday. I was one of the few that was still there till the bitter end, and they were loud. And the NFL.com crews noticed it, and that was really neat to see them get on. Look, he's a good guy. He's a 6th, 7th round pick. I think he caught 28 passes at Arkansas. Just wasn't, they didn't know what they had. But his athleticism, and he had a pretty good Senior Bowl week too. Put a couple of balls on the ground down there, but good late round prospect. And by the way, he has return skills too. So he's someone that can fill that role of the big wide receiver. And I'll just preemptively answer the questions because there's 2 of them that are in here, and I was going to answer one of them. I'll get to it now. Tim Patrick should be back. I don't think there's going to be another team that values him more than the Lions do as a free agent. He's 32 years old. He missed 2 full years with injury and parts of 3 others where he missed significant time with other unrelated injuries. This guy you're happy to have come back and compete, and as long as he stays healthy, he can play, but you dang well better have a backup plan better than, it's like right now, the wide receivers on the roster, Amon-Ra St. Brown, All-Pro, Jamison Williams, budding Pro Bowler, Khalif Raymond, return man speed gadget guy. Y'all, JMO's the biggest guy we got on the roster right now at wide receiver. That's not sustainable. That's going to change. Tesla would be a great fit later in the draft. Guy like Jaden Higgins, Eli Omenor, Caden Prather, a lot of guys that make sense. But if you're looking later, if you think that the Lions should address it later, Tesla might be your guy. Caden Prather's pretty good too, though. I like him. Jack Betch from TCU fits that bill too. There's a lot of good big receivers in this class, and I do think that the Lions are, I'll say, I know more than think that they do. They are definitely interested in the bigger wide receivers in this class. I'll just zip that. Another good question from Jeff here while I'm on his page. What curveball do you think Brad will throw at us at this draft? First round defensive back? Maybe? I don't know. It's a good question. Offensive lineman at 28, I think is very realistic. I'm not sure that a lot of people would think that that's crazy. I do think that taking a player like Jahdae Barron, Nick Emenwari, just throwing names out here as examples. I'm not linking any of them. But the Lions have looked at these guys. Azareya Thomas from Florida State is another one. Building up that secondary. And some of that is if Carlton Davis leaves in free agency. And we didn't get any questions on that because his whole thing has happened since then. And I'll be honest, I don't know what to think of it. I need a little time to process that one. But my interpretation of Carlton Davis's not so cryptic tweet was that he is not leaving a penny on the table this time, because he kind of did that in Tampa before he got traded to Detroit. And this is probably his last shot at a big contract at 28 years old with his injury history as a guy who's missed at least 4 games, and if he got the playoffs, every year of his career. Probably time for him to cash in if he can, and God bless him, man. Go get your money, dude. If it's in Detroit, that's great. Somebody wants to pay you more than what Detroit is willing to go offer, go for it, man. Get yours. I will never fault a player for chasing money. Never. Especially guys like that who have seen injuries. The guy broke his thumb and broke his jaw in a month last year. I understand. I do hope he's back, though. And I know that they are trying to get him back. But is the economics going to work out? I don't know. Other curveball. I can see a late day 2, early day 3 tight end. It's a great year to need him. I know CJ Dipray from Alabama is a perfect fit, and I put that up on my socials. He just, wow, man. You can see Dan Campbell and him having a long conversation about football and weightlifting and Metallica and what type of chew to put in different situations. He's totally that guy. Very, very smart. He was one of my favorite podium interviews of the draft. The other wild card, and I'll just throw this one out there because it was suggested to me from a look, when I go down there, I hang primarily with Detroit guys, but I also, I'm a Cleveland guy. I did draft with Cleveland for a very long time. I know a lot of the Cleveland guys. And in fact, I just hired him to help on draft wire. And he threw the name Matthew Golden at me. I was like, would the Lions take him? Like, my first reaction was, come on. Then he had his workout. And I look at what he offers. And he's really good. He should not be there at 28. And if he's the best player available at 28, and if he's there at 28, he might be. It sounds weird that you would draft a wide receiver given that high, given how good we are at the position at the top anyways, with Amon-Ra and J-Mo, and, Sam Laporta as a tight end, Jahmyr Gibbs coming out of the backfield. David Montgomery can really catch the ball in the backfield. Like, it seems crazy, but it's where that villain hoodie came from, y'all. So that'd probably be my biggest one. Let's see. Oh, okay. This is related. This is from Yeti. What's an area that the Lions will focus on this offseason that the everyday fan doesn't feel is necessary? And I will tell you right now, it's safety, because I get so much blowback that the Lions are looking at safeties, and they are. And here's why they are. Because they have Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch at the top of the depth chart, and that's the best tandem in the league. They're fantastic. Number 3 in the depth chart, go ahead and try to guess. If he's a free agent, he won't be back. Given everything that I heard in Indy, he's not even going to try to be back. He knows he's done. Brandon Joseph, you might remember, he got cut for some off-field things. Lawrence Strickland is your number 3 safety right now. Or Maurice Norris. They were both undrafted rookies last year. Strickland is a train tracks type of safety in that he is a downhill attack dog. If you're on his train tracks, he's going to blow you up in the run game and the short pass game. If you're not on his train tracks, he might never see you, whether you're in the run or the pass. He's working on it. There's potential there for Lawrence Strickland to get a lot better, but he's not there yet. And Maurice Norris was a undersized slot corner at Fresno State who was really, really good at blitzing. And that was actually how he got his foot in the door in Detroit. It's a 5'9", about 180-pound safety. They're converting him to safety. He can play that utility role as a nickel too, but they absolutely need a safety or 2. And they're looking. I don't think it's going to happen in round 1, but I do think that day 2, early day 3 is very realistic for them to take a safety and a guy that can more cover. I know the iffy role was much more of a, let's put him in the slot. Let's put him as an extra hybrid linebacker type thing. A heavy slot type deal where you're attacking downhill. I'm not sure they want that role as much anymore. I think they're more inclined to play actual linebackers there now that they have an actual linebacker in Kelvin Shepherd as a defensive coordinator. Remember, Aaron Glenn, defensive back. As a defensive coordinator, his emphasis was on the secondary. Kelvin Shepherd played linebacker, very cerebral guy, very fun, smart guy. They're pretty deep at linebacker. I can see a lot more in actual 4-3 defense this time, which sort of really pushes that, I'm going to put it, iffy role into very small sub packages against teams that are playing 2 tight ends, one of them being a receiving tight end. So they're certainly looking at, and there's a myriad of guys that are going to be available in that. It could also be a bigger corner who can maybe allow Brian Branch to focus more on being in the slot, because you're going to see a lot of Branch in the slot as well. I think that's the plan. We're all just kind of guessing at what's actually going to happen with the defense because we don't know. I don't think they've figured all that out yet either. Be one of the fun things about the offseason. Also a big receiver, because again, I went over the depth chart earlier. Losing Antoine Green really hurt. And my understanding is that his football career is over. Until I'm told otherwise. All right. Oh, this is a good one. I have zero belief that the Lions interviewed Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe in hopes of drafting him, but rather to get intel on other players. I agree. Who do you believe they would be asking him about? Let me just talk about Milroe for a quick sec. How do I say this discreetly? No player has done more to lower their draft stock from the end of the football season through the All-Star games and the Combine than Jalen Milroe. I'm not sold he's going to get drafted. Now, having said that, I can see the Steelers or the Browns taking him in the second round, too. That's just that. It's that wild with him. But the dude, I will say this, he will have a grade that is a little bit higher than Malik Willis, but not much. And I give Malik Willis a ton of credit for becoming the best Malik Willis he can be. And I'm not sure that that's in Milroe. Look, Malik, when Chris and I talked to him Chris actually spent a lot of time with him down in Mobile at that Senior Bowl. Like, you really wanted to root for this kid. Just like, it physically hurt to rip on his game and his lack of accuracy and skills. Milroe is not that kind of affable, charismatic dude. He's certainly not unlikable. Like, I wouldn't root against him at all. Like, he's fine that way, but he doesn't have that natural charisma to him that Malik did, that you wanted to root for Malik Willis, even wherever he goes. Milroe. So let's talk about Alabama guys. Tyler Booker, terrible workout. Great football player. Gave a great football answer. I wasn't in front of his podium when he said it, but a lot of people were, and they all agreed that it was a comment of the week, and I'm going to closely paraphrase it here. They asked him what he liked about playing football, and his answer was to the effect of, I like to steal the ability to like football from the guy across from me. Like, I want to kill their football soul, in essence. And I'm like, that's a really good answer. I like that one a lot. So he is a guard who is very athletically limited. And I don't think that really fits the Lions all that well, but if maybe Alabama's pro day will change some things there, but he tested terribly, and tested in a way that is commensurate with the kind of the way he plays. He's more of a phone booth style player, and I'm not sure that fits Detroit all that well. But Malachi Moore, the safety, a favorite of our colleague here at Detroit Lions Podcast and also at Lions Wire, Russ Brown. He is a late day 2, early day 3 safety. That Aaron Glenn pick at 101, that comp pick is where you would probably have to take him. Good player. Good fit. Like that guy a lot. They could ask him about Dipray, a guy who I put on my socials as like the perfect Lions prospect. Early day 3, 5th round, 6th round. They don't have a 5th round pick. Traded it. Doesn't mean that they won't get one. We all know that Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell love to trade all over the place. They don't have a 5th round pick now. That doesn't mean that they might have 4 of them by that day. Like, you just don't know. Like, it's so fluid this year. Even at the top, like, we don't know who the number 1 pick's going to be yet. I think it's going to be Cam Ward, but I don't know if it's going to be the Titans. See on that. That's a good question, though. And there's a lot of Alabama dudes. Jihad Campbell is somebody that I would really like in Detroit, but at the same time, he's eminently redundant with Jack Campbell, who they just spent a 1st round pick on. Alex Anzalone is still here. They like him. I do think that Derek Barnes is coming back. They like him. Rodrigo coming off the knee fills his role very well. They are certainly not throwing in the towel on Trevor Nowatzki and his developmental arc. They did get rid of Jalen Reeves-Maybin, and actually that's a question here at the top from Jay. Jordan got me thinking, with roster spots tighter and a whole new draft class to slot in, who do you think could be a surprise not to start on the 53 next season? Or to not start on the 53 next season? Graham Glasgow. If they draft a guard early, or draft a guy who can play guard and or center early, and especially if Kevin Zeitler is back, I could see Graham Glasgow being gone. his play down the stretch, and I've quoted this on the Huge Show, I've quoted it on this podcast. From week 10 on, he was the worst offensive lineman in football per PFF, and that passes the eye test. I hope that he's not done. I hope that he can be our utility offensive lineman, but the guy at the end of the year wasn't that good. He wasn't good enough for that. Look, I really hope that he makes it back and can show that he can be that guy. But if he's not, I don't think that they're going to spend that much on that spot. The other one, Broderick Martin, he's playing for his job this spring. I think if he comes back and isn't where the Lions expect him to be at minicamp in June, he might not make it to training camp. Big offseason for him, big offseason for Colby Sorsdal, who's also from that draft class. The guy who flashed some things as a rookie, and then last year down. He's got to come up pretty quickly again. Otherwise, he's in some trouble. I'm not tripping any other, yeah. Those would probably be my answers there. Good question, though. Okay. I got one good question here on free agent signings. And by the way, I'm recording this again on Thursday. I don't even know what freaking day of the week it is. It's been a long time, the last few weeks. But we are going to try, Chris and I are going to try to do a free agency show Monday evening. If I return from where I'm going this weekend, I'm going up to Houghton to see my son and Michigan Tech. They're hosting the GLIAC basketball tournament. He's on the team. Nobody you. Let's go win this. We won the regular season title. I will be watching them play at home for the first time ever, so I'm kind of excited about that. But we're gonna be focusing on free agency next week. Bish and Brown have a thing coming. I know on that as well. Paulson Adebo and Jedrick Wills as free agent signings. Thoughts and fits. Adebo is great. He fits what the Lions want at outside cornerback. He's big. He's physical. He plays man coverage. He tackles well in space. He's coming off of a broken femur, so you know that he passes that injury check, which means that he's not going to be as expensive. I could absolutely see the Lions making a play for him, especially if Carlton Davis doesn't come back in free agency. Jedrick Wills. I don't want him. Look, I covered him in Cleveland. I've watched just about every snap he's played. First off, I don't think he's got that grit mentality to him. That's just not kind of who he is. He's much more of a, I don't know how he's not cut from the Lions cloth. And I say that as somebody who, I did his combine interview. I got to watch him play. I got to cover him in a couple of Browns training camps. He's just never going to be the guy that's going to be upset when he loses a rep. And that got him benched in Cleveland, and you better believe that that's not going to fly in Detroit. So I understand the appeal. I think he was the number 10 pick in the 2020 draft, 2021 draft. There's a reason why a bad football team gave up on him and played 400-pound Davon Jones in his place. Didn't go well. Oh, the Browns. So happy that I don't have to cover that team anymore. Very happy to be in Lions land full time. Makes me happy. All right. Oh, this is a good question. I actually spotlighted this one as I went through and read it. From Gmart. I like to hear your draft evaluations and how you look back and revisit them sometimes. Thank you. I'm curious what you've seen so far from a couple of the other QBs in the division, Jordan Love and Caleb Williams. Has changed anything about your evaluation of them, or if they're exactly what you thought they'd be as draft prospects? You didn't like Love much, if I remember correctly. That's true. He was not a top 100 prospect for me. He's kind of been better, actually, than I thought he would be. I think some of that was the fact that they didn't rush him in, and I think he got good coaching in Green Bay. I know, there's instantly 10% of y'all that have instantly flipped me the bird. Other teams are allowed to be good, folks. Even in the division, we're better than them. They have good players. We do too. We have more of them. We have a lot more of them. That's why we went 15-2. That's why we can go 15-2 again next year and go longer in the playoffs. I 1000% believe that. I will respect the division foes. I don't fear them at all. They should be fearing us. And I think in some regards they do. So that's where I'm at today. Jordan Love, I think, has been better in the leadership department and in the controlling the offense. I think he does that pretty well. As a passer, he is exactly who I thought he was. Occasionally good, often and at rare times, oh my God. And that's kind of what he was when he was in college. Caleb Williams. This is a tough one. He's only got 1 year of tape. And that 1 year of tape, I think, was pretty indicative of a guy who has a lot of physical talent, but doesn't know how to play football super well just yet. I think he did get better. He still takes way too many sacks. He misses too many easy throws where he makes the receivers work too hard to make the catch. And that was very much the book on him coming out of USC. It was why he was not my number one quarterback. He was tied for number 2 quarterback last year with Bo Nix. I was that relatively low on him. Jaden Daniels was a very, very easy number 1 quarterback last year. It wasn't close. Caleb and it was a great class last year. I liked a lot of those guys. I even like Michael Pratt, who I think was a 6th round pick coming out of Tulane. Like, there was something to that guy that had appeal. He'd be QB3 in this draft. Probably 3 or 4. I think he was QB9 last year. But anyways, with Caleb, I thought he handled the professional the personal aspects of being a professional. I thought he handled fairly well and better earlier than I expected. As a player, he's still got a long way to go. And Ben, if Ben Johnson tries to run the Jared Goff style centric offense with Caleb Williams, they're not winning a game. They did address their offensive line this week. Good for them. They added Jonah Jackson. See if that works for him. Didn't work for LA. If he's healthy, he's better than anything that they had. I get why they did it. They're eating his entire $17 million salary, which I wouldn't have done, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And then they traded for Joe Thuney, who was phenomenal. And that made them a lot better. They added the 2 best offensive linemen on their roster this week. They did that ahead of the draft, so that certainly helps them out. I think that will help Darnell Wright at right tackle become a better protector. One of the books that was on Caleb Williams coming out, don't pressure his blind side, pressure his face. He needs to see the pressure. That's how you impact him. He wilts in that. All of the colleges figured that out. Every college that played USC eventually figured out you put your best pass rusher over their right tackle and you attack him there so Caleb can see what's coming at him and get worried. That's still true. It's one of the reasons why the Lions love having Hutchinson on that side. Because one of the reasons why you have in Green Bay, Rashawn Gary's over there. He's their best pass rusher. Oh, I don't know what to make of Caleb, honestly. That's 1 year. I would say thus far I've been fairly pleased with my evaluation of him being fairly accurate. But again, the book's not written. It's not really written on Love yet either. I'm morbidly curious what happens if they ever get a good wide receiver who can stay on the field, that they don't have one. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, and then J.J. McCarthy, the other quarterback, who I liked a lot coming out of the draft, relatively speaking. I was higher on him generally than most of my draft pundit colleagues. We'll see what they got in him. I don't know. It appears that Sam Darnold's on his way out, and the training wheels are off. So, I don't know. We'll wait and see on that one. You gotta wait till these guys play at least a full year, preferably 2, before you revisit it. I know so many people remember Kyle Hamilton? We'll go back to that draft real fast. He was my number 1 player in that draft. Baltimore Ravens take him in the 20s, maybe? I may have been 14. I don't know. Keep going in front of me. he fell a lot further than he would have on my board. That was the Hutchinson draft. I think. No, it was whatever. I freaking loved Kyle Hamilton. And he came in, didn't have a great combine, didn't have a great first preseason, and then week 1 of his rookie year, he was awful. Since then, he's arguably the best safety in the league, one of the 5 best defensive players in the league. But there are still people holding on to the fact that he didn't have a good combine and he started his career slowly. And that, like, same thing's going on with Trayvon Walker. Rookie season. Project. Felt like it. Last 2 years, 10 sacks a year. Over 10 sacks. Like, he's really good, folks. Like, Hutchinson's better, and I'm ecstatic that we have Hutchinson. I'm glad that they didn't take him. Trayvon Walker can play, too. So you got to be careful before you throw those things around. Let those guys play a little bit. Bryce Young might be a great example of that. And that's the guy that I didn't care for in the draft. I thought he was too small. I thought he was too short. And I thought that he threw too many passes too safely. And he is the classic case of a guy getting benched early and getting it, like getting his head on straight and seeing, sometimes it helps to watch other guys do what you're supposed to be doing, to see what you're doing wrong or what they're doing different to be successful. Darius Slay's a fantastic example of that. Remember back to his rookie season, Darius Slay was awful. He got benched. We all cheered when he got benched because he was not playing well. He figured out what he needed to do and has become a fantastic player. One of my favorite Lions ever. One of a lot of y'all's favorite Lions ever. And would I take him back in Detroit? That wasn't asked on here. I absolutely would. I would welcome him back, but welcome him back as like the number 3 or number 4 corner. I don't want him starting at the end of his career. If he wants to ring whore in Detroit, hell yeah, man, bring it. Love to have Big Play Slay back. But I'm hopeful for Bryce Young as a general football fan. I don't root for that. I don't really care about the Panthers one way or the other. But I like to see guys succeed, and I kind of like the guys that succeed when they don't work out right at first, and he would be an example of that. So that's a good one. Yeah, I would definitely take Slay back. Nobody asked, but I know you're thinking it. I know you don't. Couple other good questions here. Where'd they go? Okay, so my thing's better. Stop wadding my questions away. All right. Couple left here. Oh, yeah. So we'll do our non-football question. From Yeti. Favorite Coheed and Cambria song? I am a massive Coheed and Cambria dork. I have seen them many, many times. I'm going to see them again in the summer. My daughter and I bond over their music. I took her to her first Coheed show when she was in 5th grade. She's been to 2 now. I have been to 15 or 16. I last saw them when they played their No World for Tomorrow album all the way through. I went to Royal Oak and saw that. It was great. Actually had to go to that one solo because my typical concert buddy couldn't make it. Hi, Dave. I love Three Evils. I love Blood Red Summer. I love Gravemakers and Gunslingers. In Keeping Secrets. But my favorite 2 songs, Island, which was my play-in song for Big True and Jim back when they were on 96.1 in Grand Rapids. I love that song. That resonates with me. And Old Flames. From when my daughter and I went to that first concert, it was on that Unheavenly Creatures tour. I know a lot of people are like, who the hell are you talking about? It was a massive sing-along, and it was great, and it was a moment that I had with my daughter that I will never forget, and she will never forget. And when you can get those sort of things with your kids, you cherish that. So that is my favorite one. But Island is probably the one that I listen to the most. Good question, and thank you for asking me that, my fellow child of defense. The other question that you asked, and it's a good one, and this sort of veers away from the draft a little bit. Who's potentially the next hot name in coaching circles from the Lions coaching staff? This was something that did get talked about a lot in Indy because there's a lot of new people in the staff. I will say Kelvin Shepherd is still incredibly upwardly mobile. Might not be at the pro level. I could see him absolutely getting a college head coaching job, especially if LSU's opens up. That's where he went. He's got that dynamic. He'd be fantastic going into a prospect's living room and getting mom and dad to get him to sign. Like I could absolutely see Kelvin Shepherd being fantastic at that. But if he wants to be an NFL head coach, that opportunity is going to be there down the road too. And a couple of people mentioned that he has that potential. I agree with that. I think Mark Brunell kind of is the quarterback's coach. He kind of sat on the sidelines a little bit throughout this. There was never really any inclination that he was going to leave. I think if Goff continues to play very well in a new offensive system as John Morton comes in and puts the John Morton spin on the Dan Campbell slash offense, I think you're going to see that. And then Scotty Montgomery moving back to the wide receivers role where he had originally come from back in the day before he took on the running backs coach job and the assistant head coach job, first at Indy and now in Detroit. I think if you see Jameson Williams erupt for a 1,200 yard and 12 touchdown year, and he can, he might have to, but I think he absolutely can. You're going to see Scotty get more looks as a head coach, or certainly as an OC going somewhere. If the Lions can't keep him, I think that's a good question though. The other one is Deshae Townsend, the secondary coach. He didn't have a great run in Jacksonville before he came here. And I think he did a pretty good job of establishing last year in Detroit. But that was more about Jacksonville and less about Deshae Townsend. I thought he did a very good job last year, given what he had to work with all the injuries and new people coming in and all that. I thought he did great. And if he does it again, especially if they get somebody from the outside that moves up, and if Terrion Arnold becomes the top tier corner upper, let's say top 20 corner in the league, I absolutely think he can be that. I do. I'm very confident. Look, I loved Terrion Arnold last year. I was ecstatic when they moved up to draft him. Look, I like Quinyon better. So sue me. Terrion was right behind him on my big board. I think he was 4 spots behind him. Loved his game. Loved how he fit for the Lions. And yes, I think he's going to emerge as a legit number 1 corner next year. I do. So, and Deshae will get some credit for that. I've been talking a long time. I'm tired. Got a basketball game to go to. Gonna go watch Byron Center in Hudsonville in the regional final. I know players on both teams, no families on both teams. So with that, Jeff Risdon for the Detroit Lions podcast, the Lions Wire, signing off. Thank you for watching. Hope you click like and subscribe. Again, check out the Patreon Slack channel. That's where I got all these questions. I will be answering more of them in a written mailbag form soon. If you have other questions, you want to hit me, Blue Sky is honestly probably the easier one to get me at. It's Jeff Riz at Blue Sky. I do still check X, Twitter from time to time, but I tend to I hate bots and I hate AI, and that seems to be where all that is. So you're good. Hey, let's go Lions, man. We got free agency coming up. We got the draft coming up. There's going to be a lot of coming and going. We got you covered. We're here for you. Thanks.